Hey coaches, welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip, right here on the good old YouTube. Today's topic, we're going to continue talking about some of my favorite passing concepts. Recently we did one on the curl flat, and now we're going to do one on what most people call the shallow cross, which I've never understood that. Just one of the routes is shallow. I always called it high-low because there's a high cross and a shallow cross or a low cross. I'm going to show you a few things that we did off of it and had great success doing it this way. And then I got a few video clips, which I'm probably going to post them in a separate video just to keep it from being too long and just like make it a companion video. All right, let's pay a few bills and get started talking about the shallow cross concept and how you can use it in your offense. All right, the GPS system, the gun power spread system, is available. It's going great, moving out several of them every week. And I'm not advertising anywhere but my podcast, which check out the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. It's different from this. Okay, it's more like a talk show where I bring in guests. I advertise on the podcast, I advertise on the YouTube videos, and I advertise on my social media, my Twitter, and my Facebook. Football Talk with Coach Chip group on Facebook, which is amazing, over 2,000. Go over and check that out as well. On Twitter, I'm at Coach Chip, at Chip Siegel. But you'll see why this thing is going so well when you dive into it. And here's the deal. Say, Coach, I'm looking at the price. Man, that's kind of steep. Well, right now it's over 500 pages. The first edition was over 400. And then I amended it, didn't take anything out, just added to it. Now it's over 500 and the price still stays the same. But here's the deal. I'll amend it again. Now, here's the really big deal. I'll just send it to you. Say, Coach, I want to try it out. You get it, look at it. If you think it's worth it, you pay for it. Here's the thing. You say, well, Coach, what's to keep us from keeping it, not deleting it? Nothing. But here's two things I trust. I trust this system. It worked well for us. It's worked well for others. I trust it. And I also trust you. I trust your character, and I trust the integrity of the GPS system, the gun power spread system. I can talk on it for hours, literally. Go ahead and hit me up at siegel.chip@gmail.com and say, Coach, send me a trial copy. And I'll send you I'll send it to you as an email attachment. And you look it over. And also I'll send along payment information, how you can handle that. It's a piece of cake. You can't beat it. All right, the other one that's going great, you can find it on Amazon for $29.99, or you can get it directly from me, the Offensive Line Manual for Gap Down Backer Blocking. Unleashing the power of angles and leverage. Now, I will not send you the paperback on a trial basis. I will, however, send you the ebook for $30. I'm going to charge you an extra penny. I'm a little bit tighter with my money than Bezos is over at Amazon. I will send you the ebook, same way I send you the GPS system. Check it out. If you like it, send me the money along with your address, and I'll throw in the paperback as well at no extra charge. The reason you want both, the paperback is set up where you can highlight it, you can write in the margins, make it a working book. The ebook is perfect for making presentations to your players. You just put it in presentation mode. It comes in Google slide format. Put it in presentation mode, bring it up on the big screen, and you show the kids exactly what you want them to do. So get your copy today. Again, I will send you the ebook on a trial basis. Be sure you subscribe to the channel. Be sure you follow the podcast. And if you're already a subscriber, then you know you have all those freebies available to you. But also, do me a favor, share the channel. We are closing in on 4,500 subscribers. Maybe by Christmas, we'll be at 5,000. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I never thought it'd get to 500. I'll just be honest with you. I just wanted, it was just something to have fun, keep my mind occupied after I retired from the classroom. Back in 19, I retired from the classroom. I started doing this in January of 20. Just bored. I was only coaching, working half days. And I just gave me something to do. Then the pandemic struck in 20, and then that's all there was to do. And I made a whole ton of videos. And it just kept growing, and it's fun to do. And I like it. And I think most of the people that follow it like it too, because they keep hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. You can find the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, but the two biggies, I know where they are, Spotify and Apple. Most people I know either get their podcast from Spotify or Apple. It's called Football Talk with Coach Chip, the podcast. Got some great guests over there, and it's not just, high school coaches, super successful, hyper successful coaches. I've had JUCO guy, JUCO assistant, had a Division I strength and conditioning guy, had youth league coach, middle school coaches, small school coaches, coaches you've never heard of, which is, I think, an underserved part of podcasts. So that's why I just said, it's just two guys talking football. I told one guy, he said, what are we going to talk about? I said, dude, what do coaches talk about when they hang out and drink beer and eat wings? Just pretend we have wings and beer. And we're just hanging out talking football, and it goes. Just had Tony Schiffman on a few episodes ago, the Hog Football Chat guy. That was awesome. We just talked ball, and it went in all kind of directions. And it wasn't just, X's and O's. And I don't want to get it. I have a hard time painting pictures with my words. The YouTube channel is aimed at X's and O's. The podcast is aimed just toward, ideas and talking. We'll tell stories. We just had Coach Fisher on. As I record this, he'll be on tomorrow. This is Saturday, the 5th. And on the 6th, the founder of the Texas High School Football Chat will be on. And we talked about the state of public education and what can we do to fix it for a little while. And we did talk football too, but thought about coaching pay around the country and things like this, and the teacher shortage and the coaching shortage, that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. So check that out. The podcast, the next one's coming out in the morning. By the time you watch this, it's probably already out. It comes out at midnight, Sunday the 6th. Okay. Hey, let's get started talking about the shallow cross. All right, don't forget to like the video. And again, if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and do it. Later on in the video, I'll show you a list of all the free resources available to subscribers. All right, now the shallow cross is a great concept. I always just called it high-low. Now, I learned a version of it in college. They jokingly referred to it as NCAA because they said everybody in the NCAA has this concept in some shape, form, or fashion. That was back in the 80s. Then years later, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, I hear about the shallow cross, and I see it at a clinic. I went, oh, that kind of looks like NCAA, but a little more to it than that. Because NCAA teams ran it out of Pro I, teams ran it out of split back veer. And it's hard to run it exactly the way you see it if you've got two backs in the backfield. You can run it from the double slot set, like run and shoot teams do, flex bone teams do, just like this. Just like this. You can run it from what I call the red, white, and blue sets, or the wing T. Okay, that's the double wings with the fullback. You can run it just like this. It fits into any offense almost. Now, again, full house T or wishbone, you'd have to be really creative. You could run the two crosses, but you wouldn't get the deep threat because you don't have the guys out there to challenge immediately on the snap to get involved in the pass routes. But it's a great concept. We use it for our three-step game, three-step from gun, a five-step from under center. But I will say this, I'll show you how we tweaked it without changing anything except the quarterback's drop. And we literally ran two plays kind of without changing anything, just changing what the quarterback is looking at. And a lot of that had to do with the fact, young, inexperienced quarterbacks, protection, not holding up longer than a 3 count. And I'll show you what we do, but it's just a great concept. Like I said, you run it most anything. It involves a dig, a post, a flat route, and a shallow. And it can go to any of those guys, any of them. And also, I put my go route in there. You remember, my go route is get open. It's a takeoff or a curl, depending on how the secondary reacts. If they're bailing, you curl it up. If you can beat them deep, you take off deep. And if you got that kind of quarterback, you can have him peek at that cat while he's making his drop. I learned real quick, there's two kinds of quarterback. The kind that ain't going to throw it no matter what for that peek guy, and the one that's looking for an excuse to throw it to that peek guy. So, I haven't had the best of luck with that. I've always been blessed to have, not always, but in the last part of my career, I had a lot of alphas that played quarterback. or close to it. It was the kind of thing like, if you give them an opportunity to do something, they're going to do it. They're not going to be shrinking violets. All right, so let's go a little bit deeper into this. All right, now we talked about the routes in the intro. On this one here, you can see the L, which used to be called him the X. And then I realized we never flip them. So let's call them an L and an R so they know where they are. The L here on the left runs a skinny post. And a coach asked me one time, what's the difference between a post and a skinny post, or a skinny post and a fat post? And here's the way I describe it. Now, you tell me how you get in the comments or hit me up at siegel.chip@gmail.com. You see it right here at the bottom. And tell me what you call it or how you differ between them. Here's what we said. A skinny is when you run that 10 yards. Most people, anywhere between 8 to 12 yards, you're going to make your cut to the post. We did 10. On a skinny, you're breaking to the near post, the one that's on the side of the receiver that's running the route. A fat is the far post or even wider, almost running it to the back pylon that's lined up with the far hash. You say, why skinny? Well, you don't want it to carry too far across the field. Plus, if it's skinny, you're giving the quarterback more space to throw the football, and then you can break off a little bit and adjust to it. And that's the thing about good post receivers are kind of like good center fielders in baseball. They can track a ball, but you give them more room on the skinny. The quarterback got more room to throw that thing out there or throw it deep down the field, and then the receiver can adjust. Because how many times do you watch a post, and when the kid catches it, the receiver's like on a straight line going to the end zone? It's like, you see my cursor? Because the quarterback threw it right down the middle of the field, and the kid adjusted to it. Now, as I said, he breaks to the near upright, the near part of the post. But once the ball's in the air, he adjusts to it, of course. All right, now on this one, we got the Z running a dig, and I'll show you how you can swap that up. Our digs are always 10 to 12, and he is going to sit in the first or the second window. I've had kids, especially the fast ones. Sometimes my best jetters aren't real good at digging because they're fast. They want to show everybody how fast they are, and they just take off and they haul ass across the middle of the field. But the thing is, they don't realize they're running from one zone to another zone, and it's almost like basketball versus a zone. Stop when you're friggin' open. If you're open on the wing, don't run to the low post and stand by the low post defender. So like this is a cover 2, and this is how we do it versus too high. If you're open right here in this window, sit your fanny down, clown, or at least gear down, slow down, let that quarterback hit you right here in that window. Then it depends on the linebacker drops. So if it's like this and you got the one guy, you may have a window here and a window here. Most teams, you're going to have 2 linebackers right here, and you'll have 3 windows. The first one, the middle one, and the far one. He should never make it to that far one against 2 linebackers, ever. Okay, so sit down in that first or second window, and it was so hard. I had one that's in my mind right now, one of the fastest kids I ever coached, and I said, dude, you're open, just stop. And he goes, I know, coach, I know. And then the tailback, he runs a shoot to the flat or a swing to the flat. We don't run the flare very much because I like running that on quick game because he can throw it real quick, just swing it out there, and it's like turning it into a rocket almost, just throw it quick. But on our drop back game, I don't like doing them as much because if the DB makes a great play and tackles him, we still got 4 or 5 yards. Right here, he's catching the ball 5 yards deep. He's got to run 10 yards from the time he catches it just to get where he is when he catches it if you run the shoot or the swing to the flat, and that's why I did that. And I said swing up here, but we called it a shoot. We called it a shoot to the flat more often than not. All right, the H, remember, that's our hybrid, our tight end type kid. On this one, he's got the shallow. Now, he's always open, by the way. It's just like old tight ends. They're always open. It's like people forget they even exist. But you can flip it and let the Z run the shallow if you want to do it like almost like a screen. You want to get to your best player. On the video clips, you'll see how that can break, how that 3 or 4 yard pass downfield turns into big, big, big plays. Then over here on this, the R, our right receiver, has got the go. Take off or curl, depending on what the corner and the safety over here are doing, because it's cover 2 on this. And if he feels like he can curl it up right here. Now, you're saying, well, Coach, most people I see, they run that running back flat away from the shallow. Yes, and that's a good way to do it. And it's really good to doing it that way for blitz control. But let me tell you what we found at the high school level in the league we were in for so many years. This dude running right here, the running back running to the flat, opened this up. This H will come out of the middle if they're in zone as buck naked, wide open as the day he was born, because the flat defender is going to go with that running back. He's going to go with him. And this guy's going to come out right here, wide open, if they're in zone. By the way, tell your shallow crosser, whether you do it with the H, the Z, X, Y, L, R, whatever it is you call them, tell him, do not look for the football until he clears the box, because he is going to get his jock rocked. Because high school football, they can light you up. As you can see, I said decleat you if that ball is not in the air. The only thing they can do they can't do before the ball is thrown is grab you. But they can light you up. Because again, in high school football, there's no 5-yard chuck rule. There's nothing that says you can't collision those jokers before the ball is thrown. It's different, unless you're in Texas. All right, let's look at another one. All right, same one versus 1 high. A while ago it was 2 high. All right, now let me show you the 2 reads. Okay, let me show you the two plays without changing anything. And again, you can change who runs the cross, who runs the dig, who runs the shallow cross. You can change that just with a tag or the way you put it in. If you want your Z being that guy on the shallow, that's cool. And we used to do it all the time. Our default was the H. Okay, default was the H, and for no particular reason. That's just I'll tell you the reason. I think the H is closer to the middle, and the Z would have to adjust his. I've got him a little tighter than I normally do to get a little closer in here. All right, here are the 2. I have what I call a high read and a low read. And you can do it against 2 high or 1 high, both of these. All right, first off, the high read. And all we did, we signaled in the play, and the signaler would tap the top of his hat to the quarterback. That told the quarterback, you're reading the free safety. I was like, oh, what do you mean? Just like if it was 3rd and 8, so we needed more than 8 yards for the first down. We would go high read, top of the hat. That told him he's reading the safety. And what that means is, if you can see the safety's front numbers, we used to say belt buckle back in the day, and for other concepts similar to this, but nowadays kids don't know belt buckles, belt schmuckle. They don't. Just say, if you can see their front numbers, you're throwing a cockeyed post. If you can see that safety's front numbers, now against the 2, he'd be reading the dig side safety, the post side safety. I like running the post on the dig side because the quarterback, his eyes are right through here, which means everything's right in front of him. The dig coming across, the post going deep, and even this guy coming out of the middle, it's all right through here. And that's the reason why I like doing the post on the dig side. All right, let's go back to the 1 high read. So it's right here. He's looking right through here. And again, like on the curl flat, I don't mind them staring down their read, because staring down their read is not staring down their receiver. His eyes do not, guys, we're talking 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. Do you really want them looking over the whole field? Because I'm telling you, unless that kid is gifted, it won't work. Because they'll see too much. The old saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see what's going on when you're trying to see everything. Give him something to look at. That, again, I may not be the best quarterback instructor in the world, but I'm just telling you what worked for us. But here's what I'm saying. If that F, the free safety, goes deep, He's well schooled. It's been drilled in his head. Don't let anything get behind you. He turns and runs. You can't see his front numbers. Right now, you're coming down to the dig right here in the middle. And there's going to be an open window. Every zone has windows. You got to practice. What we used to do for practice, one day I was out early on the field. It was after I retired from the classroom and I was just teaching. Just coaching. And I went over to the edge of the woods of the practice field, and there were these metal outlines, silhouettes, like of a human form. There was a bunch of them. And I asked one of the kids that was out there, I said, what are these? Oh, something they use for soccer. And they would set them up for the kids to take shots on goal in soccer. I went, oh my goodness, that's perfect. Well, in the South down here, in Alabama and Georgia, soccer's a spring sport, football's fall sport. So they weren't using them. So I went out there and set them up. So our routes on air at the beginning of practice became routes on these silhouettes, these metal silhouettes. And what I would do that week, if we were playing a team with 2 inside linebackers, I'd put them out there in their drops. And then I would, and do it at different things. I'd put guys in the flats and say, run to grass. This is a way to teach them to run to grass. And if you don't have those, that's the only place in my entire career that we had those. You can use cones, or you can use the beanies that you put on top of your head when you scrimmage, or you can do your vest, your scrimmage vest, whatever you got, you set them out there to train these guys on these routes, especially on the dig, to sit their hiney down. Some coaches even call this a hunt route because you're hunting grass, you're hunting space. So you teach him to sit down in one of those first 2 windows. So here's my point. If the safety takes away the post, the dig's going to be open. That's the high read. If they're in zone, he's going to be open. I said, what if they're in man? He just keeps running and they run away from him. All crossing routes versus man are nonstop routes. Outrun those jokers. Now, if they're just faster than you and shut you down in man, I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that. There's no system for that, by the way. All right, now, that's the high read. Tap the top of your helmet, boom. All right, here's the low read. It involves this. Another reason why we run the tailback, the running back in your system probably. His flat route is on the same side the shallow's coming to. He's reading the outside backer. I said, when do you run this, coach? On 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. Used to, when I first started coaching, 3rd and 3 was sure enough rundown. But I've noticed, and even in college, I remember in the 70s and 80s, 3rd and 3 was a rundown. But now it's become a passing down because defenses have gotten so cockeyed good. So you're reading the outside backer right here, the whole defender, the flat guy. If he runs with that running back, when he comes out of the box, he's going to be open. And you hit him right here, literally as he comes out of the box. So this is 2 linebackers set. So Will drops to here. Mike drops to here. He's not looking at the dig on this because you gave him the signal for low. Our signal was the signal guy bent over and put his hands on his knees. He gave him the call. And by the way, our call for this was Hawaii. Because remember, I like cute nicknames. And to me, I called it the high-low cross. Well, there's a place out in Hawaii called Hilo. That's spelled H-I-L-O, Hilo. And I just started calling it Hawaii. And everything we did off of it we had different concepts off this one concept, or different versions, had a tropical name. We had hurricanes, Miami, and I know they're subtropical, but close enough. Hawaii, there was another one I can't remember right now. And we called it the tropicals. Tropicals were shallow cross concepts. So what we would do, he's not looking at the dig. He's looking right here. Again, staring down his read. It doesn't help the defense. It doesn't hurt the offense. You're not staring down a receiver. You're looking at your read. You could take a 16-year-old quarterback and make him look really smart by giving him this one guy to read. Now, and again, it ain't always because the quarterback's not good enough to do it. I could put Tom Brady back here, and he'd have to do the same cockeyed thing if he didn't have a very good line to give him more than 3. Because if you're talking about reading both these, to me, those are 2 different reads at 2 different parts of the field. Now, if you put the tailback over here, I guess you could read 1, 2, 3. But what about this? How are you going to read this and this. Again, I got everything in line. That's the reason we did it that way. Now you see right here, I put the peek in. I would not do that on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. That'd be a 2nd and short. So we can, take a free shot down the field. Hey, if it's there, take it. And again, you got to know your quarterback. Do you give him permission to throw it, to peek at it? And, that just depends on who you is and who you ain't. All right, you can just show you different ways to do it. That's the bunch. Okay? All right. Now, you know that Football Talk with Coach Chip is brought to you by our friends at Just Play Sports Solutions and their My Just Play app. Let's go right now and hear a word from them. Hey, coaches, let me tell you about our partners over at Just Play Sports Solutions. All the play diagrams on Football Talk with Coach Chip since the spring of 2021 have been done by the My Just Play app Just Play Sports Solutions created. You can find it at myjustplay.com. Team packages, individual packages, which is what I got. With the team package, you create your playbooks, you make scout cards, you can add video to the play so the diagram literally comes to life. The players get an app, they put it on their phone, so you don't have to print any more playbooks, any more game plans, any more scouting reports. And since players never go anywhere without their phones, their playbook is always with them. Contact my buddy Brad Rumsey at brumsey@justplayss.com. brumsey@justplayss.com, or call him by phone at 517-937-5433. Tell him Coach Chip sent you. All right, great. Guys, I'm telling you, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I love it. I've been playing with it. All these that you've been looking at are played with that diagram, that play diagram drawer, whatever you call it. It's great. And you see all the other stuff you can do with it. Check it out. All right, I know we're going long. That's okay. You got a pause button. You can come back and look at it at a different time. And also the clips will be on a different video that I will tag in the show notes down below, in the description and the comments down there. And it will be linked up. And it would be clips of the shallow cross and some different teams running it. Now, this is where you do it the way you see the guys on TV do it. They got the running back going here, and notice I changed the Z is now the shallow, and the H is the dig. And the good thing about a lot of the H's I've had, they've been possession type receivers, kind of a traditional tight end kind of guy that's going to catch that short route and get you the first down. Every now and then hit him hot on something. And we didn't create them that way. That just what usually, because it's a kind of a guard, probably the guard with the best hands that we made in H in like the 10th grade. And he worked really hard and he's really good at catching the football, but he's not going to be a big play guy because he became an H because he was a pretty good blocker. That's what the H does vast majority of the time. So you may want to do it this way because that's the kind of kid that's going to be smart because he knows he's not fast as greased lightning, that he's got to be smart, and he'll sit his fanny down in those windows. Where this cat can use his speed and go flying low across, about 3-4 yards. I wouldn't go deeper than that. And remind him, look where you're running. Tell him he's running through a minefield. And we had a kid who was really fast, a different kid than the other I was talking about. And the first time, he'd never really been coached when he came to us. You could tell he was a great athlete. And he came from a really big school, and I guess he just got lost in the shuffle, but he could play now. The kid, he was a dog. The first time we ran the shallow cross with him, he got waylaid, but here's the thing. He waylaid himself. The poor pitiful linebacker in the middle was sitting there in the middle, didn't even drop, had his head moving around like a bobbing head doll in the back dash of a 1958 Chevy. And he was just sitting there bobbing, wasn't even looking. And our kid ran right into him because he was looking at the quarterback. So on film study, I asked him, I said, dude, what are you doing? He was, I'm looking for the ball, coach. I said, no, I heard Coach Parks tell you don't look for the football till you clear the box. And I asked the quarterback, I said, what did I tell you about throwing him the ball? You said don't throw it to him until he clears the box. And the kid kind of got the message. And on the film, you can see he knocked himself on the seat of his britches because he's looking at the quarterback as he's crossing the middle. I'm like, dude, he's not going to throw you the football, okay? All right, here's another way to do it. This again, back with the H right here. This is no post. And we've done it that way too. We used to do it this way, and this was the way we'd do it early on in June and July, and 7-on-7 before we got into it. We would just call our verticals, which by the way is a video coming up on our verticals that we did. We would just call our verticals and tag the shallow and the dig. Yeah. Yeah, we'd call shallow, sad. Shallow and, we call verts, sad. Shallow and dig. Verts, sad, shallow and dig. And so it all came off the verts concept, and you can see there's no post. I didn't like it as much, but it was a great way to do it in 7-on-7, great way to do it in your hurry up, where you're just running verts every play and tagging it. So all you're doing, we used to do that as a conditioning drill. We just line up and run verts over and over again down the field, like put the ball in the 20 and go 80 yards, moving it up about 10 at a time. And have the kids just run verts, and every play we tag it to make them think once they get gassed because they just ran, they're tired, and we would tag it. And we just tag verts over and over again. And this is how this got started, with no post, just 2 takeoffs or goes. They can curl it up. Teach these guys to sit. All right, here's running back opposite the H. Again, this is like the original opposite the shallow. And this is great for blitz relief. But I liked it the other way because now I've got that high-low read. I got 2 separate reads and make it 2 separate concepts. That's part of the reason we did that. All right, this is Z and H switch. All you got to do is call switch. You know, and you switch the concept. You switch Z and H switch, however how you want to call that. You know, with us, switch on this meant those 2 guys because we would not switch the 2 wide receivers. If you got any questions or comments, be sure to hit me up at siegel.chip@gmail.com. Not a problem, dude. Not a problem. Okay, here's, Z and R switch. If you got the kind of guy out here. Now, I recommend, unless he's really fast, that you cheat him in. Cheat him in a little bit to get him to the dig. And here's what you'll find. If a kid doesn't think he can get there, he'll round that joker off and he'll release in here at an angle. Boom, and he ends up getting there too quick. He gets in the linebacker's line of vision. If you run it 10 to 12 and then go flat across, you'll be behind the linebackers. Okay, they're not parents. They're not mothers. They don't have eyes in the back of their head. Okay? So that's why you got to do that. And that's another reason why we didn't run it a lot with them. But now if you're on the right hash, that means your R is a little bit closer to the ball. I know we're not here, but the diagram, I couldn't do it that way. But you come right here, and he runs, and again, teach him to sit down in the first or second window. And you may want to do that because you want your R to run the dig, or your Z's your playmaker, and you need a ball deep, and he's your fastest cat, so put him on the post. That's a ZR switch. And of course, you can do it out of trips, but your shallow and your dig are going in the same direction, which is not that big a deal. When you draw it up, it looks like, you know, they're going to be covering each other up. He's going to throw it over the shallow to the dig, and it could be a stink up. But no, because remember, your dig guy better be sitting down in the first or the second window. So he can look right through right here. And I'm running the running back into the flat on the same side that the shallow is coming to will assure as he comes out of the box, he'll be open. So the quarterback can look right down the middle of the field. If the dig's not there, boom, right there. You know, that's his ace in the hole. Okay? All right. Thanks so much for putting up with old football talk with Coach Chip one more time. If you want opportunity to support old Coach Chip, buymeacoffee.com/Coach Chip. Buymeacoffee.com/Coach Chip. Head on over there. And as I like to tell you, I don't drink coffee. Hey, and subscribe to the channel, and this is a list of the things available to you if you are a subscriber. You can pause it, look at it for yourself. There's way too many to read. I'm available for consults, available for Google Meets, which is a Zoom. Whatever you want, hit me up, siegel.chip@gmail.com. We'll swap more information, and we'll get together and talk. I've done a bunch of them. I enjoy doing them. Just did one 2 weeks ago, right before we went to the mountains, with a coach from up in North Carolina at a middle school that is a kind of a new program, and he's getting things going. All right, don't forget our sponsor. We are powered by Just Play Sports Solutions. Call my buddy Brad Rumsey. You see his number on the screen, or email him. You see his email down here at the bottom of the screen, and see what they can do for you at Just Play Sports Solutions. It's more than just the cool diagrams. It's so much more, and they can help you. And like I said, if I was still in charge of my own program, I'd stand on the table to the booster club president, the principal, the AD, to get this to everybody on our team, because they've all got phones. Put the app on there, boom, everything's right there at the tip of their fingers, in the palm of their hands, and in their back pocket. So that's it. Just Play Sports Solutions and their My Just Play app. It is unfriggin' believable. All right, thanks again for being with us here at Football Talk with Coach Chip. Check out the podcast over on Spotify and Apple. As I said, our next guest coming up is Coach Fisher, the godfather, the OG, the originator, the progenitor, whatever you want to call him, of the Texas High School Football Chat. Check it out and see how we solve the world's problems. Go over and check out the video clips. I'll have it tagged. Go look down at the bottom. Check out the video clips of the shallow cross, the Hawaii concept. Until next time, y'all, be elite.